All right. Yes, I am joined now by Leah Neaderthal of Smart Gets Paid. Leah, how are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
I am very good. Thank you for asking. Before we get into this conversation, very excited to talk to you. But could you just give us a little bit of information on, your background, Smart Gets Paid, kind of how you came to be in this position that you're in?
Sure. So yes, I am a sales coach for women business owners, and I'm the founder of Smart Gets Paid. I help women who are running consulting, coaching, or service-based businesses learn how to sell, how to get more of the clients that they want, get more yeses, and then get paid dramatically more for every client contract. I actually didn't come from a sales background. My background is in marketing. So I know exactly how hard it is to learn how to sell. And I also know that it's about 1,000 times harder to sell your own stuff than it is to sell someone else's. So that's what I help women do in Smart Gets Paid in my programs and on my podcast, the Smart Gets Paid podcast.
How does a CRM help you stay on top of your leads? How does a CRM, how should business owners kind of look at what a CRM is, what it does, and how it can help them?
Yeah, great question. Because I think there's a lot of misunderstanding around what a CRM can do for a business. And really, what I tell my clients is a CRM can actually become your entire revenue engine. It allows you to manage and grow your client or customer pipeline. It allows you to get ahead of your pipeline so that you're not sort of caught flat-footed when engagement ends or a customer actually signs. You know how to build your pipeline before it's too late. It allows you to stay organized. One of the biggest challenges with being a business owner is that you can sit down at your computer and there are 1,000 things to do and it's hard to prioritize. And so when you start with your CRM and you start with your sales pipeline, it provides a really good lens through which to view your time and how you should spend your time. And when you can do that, it reduces anxiety. I had one of my clients was feeling really frantic about her pipeline and her revenue. She finally got her CRM set up and put all of her deals in, and she saw that she had about $600,000 in her pipeline, and she was able to just calm down.
It was a nice
So
little
those
gift to find.
Yeah. So those are just some of the benefits that a CRM can offer a business or a team.
Yeah. Very important stuff there. Prioritizing, saving time, reducing anxiety. Like that's the dream. So it sounds pretty good. In a recent customer story that we had featured Smart Gets Paid in with ActiveCampaign, you had said something that really resonated with me. And you said everyone could use a CRM. Could you just say a little more about that? I think there's a sort of a misconception that there's like a point where, CRM maybe not for a certain business or for a certain use case or something like that. Could you just say a little more about that?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I get this question all the time. Should I have a CRM? When should you have a CRM? Who needs a CRM? And the truth is that as soon as you have a business, you're ready for a CRM. It's actually never too soon. I know we have this concept of CRM being something very, only for big businesses or only for when you have a team or when you've been in business for a certain number of years, right? And of course, there are sort of those names out there, the big behemoths that feel like they're sort of too big for maybe small or mid-sized businesses. But every business can benefit from a CRM if you want and if you need the benefits that I mentioned before: filling your pipeline, managing your pipeline, reducing anxiety, staying organized. So a CRM can help any business of any size start to close more clients and customers.
If you've got a business owner who is starting to evaluate CRMs for the first time, there are tons of them, and you know better than anybody that there are a ton of CRMs. How does a business go about selecting a CRM? Where do they start? What kind of questions should they ask themselves?
Oh my gosh, I love this question. So, all right, the real truth, this is really what I tell people. All right, what I really tell people is that CRMs are fairly evolved at this point. And so nearly every CRM has the same core functionality. They all have contacts, they all have tasks, they all have deals and pipelines, right? So then it becomes, what additional things do you want or need for, like I said, the business that you want to become, right? And so I also tell people that you should sign up for for a few different CRMs, and you can totally decide based on just the experience, playing around with it, Do you like looking at it even? Is it pleasing to your eye? Because if this is something you're going to have to look at, you're going to have to like it, right? If it's ugly to look at, you're not going to want to keep using it. And so be superficial. Choose the one that you like looking at the most. But I think also one part of this process is give yourself a timeline to evaluate and make it a real project. So if you choose the few that you're going to evaluate, say, all right, I'm going to play around with it on these dates, and I'm going to sort of make the decision after that. And I think that the last step is to make the decision and then stop making the decision, right? Because of the number of options that are out there, it's very easy to sort of have CRM envy, right? The moment you might hit a roadblock in the one that you chose, you think you might have made the wrong decision. Go with it, stay with it, give it a fair shot. And I promise that you'll start to see some value from it.
How do you think about the CRM implementation process? From someone who, maybe has just learned about what it is and is starting to think about, maybe I should incorporate this into my business. What are the things that they should kind of be looking at in terms of going about implementing this thing?
Yeah, and I think the implementation is a big sort of mental and logistical stumbling block for a lot of folks. Having implemented many CRMs, and I've tested nearly every CRM out there, and I've done a lot of implementations. I actually do it in a way that's different than what's recommended by a lot of the platforms themselves. I approach it kind of differently. So most guides out there will tell you to start with your contacts. You take everybody you've ever met, anybody who's in your database, and you start to put them into the CRM, right? So that you can populate it with hundreds or thousands of people. But I actually recommend to my students and clients to start with the sales process. So what most CRMs and what ActiveCampaign would call your deals in your deal flow. So if you can, the first step is just to set up the stages of your sales process and then add only the contacts that are associated with those deals, and then add the deals in with the contacts so that you have sort of populated your sales pipeline. If you start in this way, then the CRM is already providing value to you because it allows you to get a good view of your revenue and your pipeline and all that. And then you can backfill the contacts later. Not too soon. Don't wait too long, but let it be the second step so that you're already getting value and the CRM is already quickly making your life easier.
I think that is such an important point, and that's actually something that we advocate for pretty strongly at ActiveCampaign. We like to say process before software. So just really figuring out what's the starting point, what's the ending point, what's all the pieces in between before you even get everything in there, and then you kind of feel like you have to start moving and start using this thing, and you don't even really know like what you're doing. So I think that's a very important point from the perspective that you had said you've used all kinds of different CRMs and you work with businesses of all different sizes and types. How does the CRM implementation process or setup process differ from business to business? How do you approach that?
To be honest, I don't think it has to differ when you
Okay.
get started with a CRM, and just for the first time. I think that if the benefit of a CRM is to become your revenue engine, then start with where the revenue lives, which is in the pipeline, and then backfill with contacts, with tasks, with tags, with automations, all those other things. But let focus on what's going to bring you the most value and is tied to the revenue first.
So the way I kind of am seeing this, there's sort of two different stages or levels to a CRM, right? There's the CRM as a way to keep organized with the different touch points you've had with a contact, keep notes, have all the emails you've sent, the phone calls that you've had, and then as you've said, it's sort of it can be a tool that is the revenue engine for your business. So I'm just curious, what is the thing that sort of takes it from the one step to the second step where it actually is driving growth and revenue?
Yeah, so I think I would look at that in a couple of ways. I think that if you really wanted to become a revenue engine, you have to choose a provider or a platform that has more capabilities than simply some contacts and some notes and some emails and, just the basics. Because organizing is one way that a CRM can provide value, but there's a lot more opportunity in the ways that it can make your life easier, and the way that it can help you close more clients or customers and run your business. So I think, thinking about a platform that doesn't just serve where you are right now, but the kind of business you want to be in the future. And if, oftentimes that might lead to you identifying special features like automations that you might not need on day one, but you will need and can benefit from in the future. And the second thing that I think, really bridges that gap and turns it from sort of holding information to this engine is, well, first of all, using it. A lot of CRMs go unused. They collect digital dust, and it's really, the CRM will not use itself. You have to make it a practice in your daily operations. I tell people to keep it open in a tab at all times, and keep coming back to it. So that's really, one process. But the second is starting to notice the things that you are doing over and over that can be automated. And I think that, as it relates to automation, especially in a service business, a high touch business, or a business that's sort of new to CRM, I think there's a fear of sort of over automation, or that something will be automated and it'll take a process out of your hands and out of your control. And maybe a customer won't want, they'll receive a message that they shouldn't get, or something that feels generic, or, what have you. So coming out of the usage part of CRM is start to notice the things that you're doing over and over, and use the CRM to, I guess the first step is make your life easier. It's almost like automated personal touch. So for example, in a deal, for example, a deal that's been inactive for a time period and you want to follow up, don't automate the follow-up, automate the reminder for you to follow up. That's the first step. Then when you do that over and over, you can always grow. But I think starting to notice, especially, and this is of course an important point as a business owner, right? Starting to notice the things that you do over and over, that there could be ways to make your life easier. That's what sort of takes the CRM from just holding information to really making your life easier and becoming a revenue engine for you.
Wow. Yeah, that's fantastic. That makes all of the sense in the world. Not just thinking about the notification part, I think is super important. Just notifying yourself, excuse me, like letting yourself know, hey, this is probably a time where you should follow up with this person, whether it's a phone call or an email, or even just a nudge to kind of check in with that person. In your opinion, are there processes within the sales cycle, touch points that definitely should be automated? Do you have any thoughts as to things that should definitely be automated that you could take off your plate right away?
Yeah. So I think first is that follow-up piece. Remember, so-and-so's deal has been inactive for whatever time period you specified. Be sure to follow up, right? Especially when you're running a business, fortune is in the follow-up. My clients are sort of demonstrating that every single day. So that's an easy thing to start to automate. Another thing to automate is the connections between certain systems. For example, if somebody books a consultation call or a call with you, if that lives in some sort of scheduling software, then that probably goes into your calendar, and then it goes into your inbox. Connect it to the CRM. When we have it set up where if somebody books a consultation with us, it creates a deal in our sales process that allows us to sort of, we're not going to drop any balls in the process, and we can start to sort of incorporate that into our pipeline and make sure that everybody gets followed up with. Other sort of things that could be great to and easy wins is a sort of a client onboarding or customer onboarding. If somebody makes a purchase or signs on with you, there are probably some tasks that they might need to do for just getting set up. Maybe booking a kickoff call or sharing their financial information with you for payments. That's something really easy that you can set up a trigger and a message that goes out, so that and it provides a really great customer experience because they know that you're on the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, those are such great suggestions. In terms of just staying on top of your leads, where are they coming in from, and how do you know? And then having that just happen in the background for you, taking organization and prioritization to an entirely different level. Um,
Yeah, I think it's also about like, reducing what we call cognitive load,
right.
right? A lot of business owners are holding a lot in their head at all times.
Yes.
And that is mental energy that's being spent using on things that's not what your brain is designed for. Your brain is designed for really high level processing.
Right.
Remembering that you need to follow up with somebody, or remembering that, you have to dig through your email to find something. That's not what your brain's designed to do. So if there are ways that we can reduce that cognitive load using technology, specifically as connected to a CRM, I think that's the real goal and the magic for business owners.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that I just kind of thought of as you were saying that, with if someone books a call, it creates a deal. If you're pulling information from these various places, those tasks would otherwise be manual, and there's always the possibility that you might make an error, whether it's in the data entry, mistyping an email address or a phone number, or kind of forgetting where the email was in your inbox. Have you seen any benefits or anything there in terms of just like mitigating the human error and what that can do for a business?
Oh my gosh, all the time. One of my clients who was working with me in one of my programs said that before she'd implemented her CRM, she got an email from somebody who said, "I'm so sorry that I dropped the ball in our conversation, but we're ready to move forward now." And she said, "I got to tell you, I didn't even remember when we had talked to this person. I had never followed up with him. Thank goodness he came back to me, because I would have totally dropped the ball on that." And from big things like that to small things like waiting to longer than what clients expect to get back to them. There are a lot of ways that these using these systems, setting up a CRM can really mitigate any sort of small or large mistake.
There are so many different ways that a CRM really helps you, right? It's organization, it is reducing the mental load, reducing stress. Do you have like a favorite thing that you like to automate, or something that might be a little unconventional, if you will, that you sort of you find a lot of value in?
Gosh, I really think the follow-up has got to be it. It's the piece that, at least for the people that I work with, is the easiest to overlook, the easiest to forget, and the easiest to push off.
Mm.
And like I said, fortune is in the follow-up. So if you can start there and automate the reminder of your own follow-up, and see value from that, then I think it'll get your mind, your brain, your wheels turning on other things that can be automated too.
Mm. If you have somebody who's sort of a new business, right, and they think they want a CRM, maybe they've implemented it and they're just not seeing value from it right away. Do you have any advice for people who are kind of struggling to find that value, or to break out of maybe just the basic thing that they're currently doing?
Yeah, I think really, the hardest thing for any business owner, new or old, is to get clients. And if you can start with your sales process and your pipeline in a CRM, that's one way, like I said, that provides a tremendous amount of value. So oftentimes people, if they're not seeing value, it's because they haven't quite mapped out their sales process, and they're not following their opportunities through the sales process. So my advice would be, focus on just understanding your own sales process and get that into the system, and use that. Even if it only provides value in that way, it'll definitely provide value for a business. And I think the other thing is more of a mindset shift. It's, this idea that a CRM is complicated, or it's too big, or it's another thing I have to do, or another thing I have to pay for. If you can see a CRM as really your single source of truth for all of your revenue operations, and as really your partner in your business, I think it makes it a lot easier, and makes the transition to start using a CRM a lot easier and faster.
Awesome. So to the point about the sales process, if we've got a business owner who might be watching this saying, I'm not in sales, right? I have no sales experience. I don't even really know what a sales process looks like. Do you have any tips, pointers, best practices for how they might go about actually defining like what their sales process looks like, or how they could start thinking about it?
Yeah, definitely. And even if you don't have a formal sales process, like capital S, capital P, because you've never come from selling. And remember, I didn't come from selling either. This is
Right.
something I have to sort of figure out along the way. But even if you don't have like a all caps sales process, right? If you've landed a client or a customer, just one, then you have some starting place for a sales process. So I recommend to people write it out almost in prose, almost like you're telling a story, and review it again to pull out the points, the stages where either the client rested in the process or you had to do something, and let that just be the starting point for a sales process. It may be the case that not every client follows that process, but at least you have a starting point for how you can stay organized.
If someone is having a problem where there seems to be like a place in the process that things are just breaking down, or for whatever reason, the success that they had early on is something that they're not finding anymore. How might someone use a CRM to find out like how to fix that, where that might be? Do you have any experience kind of working through that?
Absolutely. I love this question because this happens all the time without a sales process or without a CRM. Clients sort of may ghost you or they stall out in the process and you can't quite figure out why and you don't know what you did wrong.
Right.
Um, and so once you have a sales process that you can even see the stages and start tracking people down the sales process, you can see where people are falling off. You can see where people are getting bunched up. And then you have the information you need to start to diagnose and fix that. So for example, if you have a lot of people who have reached out to you for a consultation, but they haven't actually scheduled the consultation. Maybe they're falling off in that process. You might consider making it super easy to schedule, maybe by using a scheduling tool. If people are getting stuck in the proposal stage and they're not moving forward and they're ghosting you, it's probably time to look at your proposals and your messaging and your pricing and your packaging. So there's a lot of insights that you can glean from just seeing your sales process just written out. Right, doing the sales process and starting to put your pipeline together is the very first step in my program for that reason, because it
Yeah.
provides insight into where the breakdown might be in your sales process.
Yeah, I think you just touched on something that is super important and one of the focuses of this show, honestly, which is how does this topic relate to the customer experience? And like you just said, identifying the places where people are falling out or where they're kind of getting hung up. It might not be that there's a problem. Like your CRM is still tracking all of that stuff. The CRM is working fine, but really it's kind of identifying problems or holes in or gaps in your customer experience in that process for the customer, not even thinking from the business owner perspective. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, because now you have information. You can start to smooth out that process for the customer. The customer came to you looking for solutions to some type of problem.
Right.
And if they're getting stuck somewhere in your sales process, as evidenced by what you're seeing in your CRM, then they can't get a solution to that problem. So it's, beholden on the business owner to figure out how they can connect their solution and make it easier for the client or the customer to purchase or experience it.
Hi, thank you for watching. If you are enjoying Growth Decoded, you can find a link in the description to sign up and join the Grow team. You'll get exclusive content and opportunities that have to do with the show. You can also hit the subscribe button for ActiveCampaign's YouTube channel somewhere down here, and you will never miss an update from us.